Thank you so much for being with me on Nation Tonight on this Friday evening. We begin with the top story on the broadcast today. So a new government has taken over in the state of Maharashtra. But the political drama as well as the war of words continue. Earlier today, former Chief Minister of Maharashtra, Uddhav Thackeray, hit out at the rebel MLAs, saying that Eknath Shinde is not a Sena CM. Also lashing out at the BJP, Uddhav Thackeray said that all this has been done for power and that democracy is in tatters. Also, just a day after taking oath, Eknath Shinde government shifted the Mumbai car shed project back to RA from Kanjurmarg, overturning the decision by the ousted MVA government. Remember, RA colony is home to 27 Adivasi villages and is considered the last green lung of Mumbai. Now, that is not all. The work to fix the potholes on the road outside Chief Minister Shinde's residence in Mumbai suburbs of Thane also began today. Years of neglect, complaints of locals fell on deaf ears. Still, the Chief Minister from that very area took oath and assumed office in Maharashtra. Now, soon Shinde has taken over as the Chief Minister. The area around his house in Thane is being fixed and potholes are being filled. Earlier today, the top court refused to hear the plea seeking suspension of 16 rebel Shiv Sena MLAs, including Eknath Shinde, until the Deputy Speaker decides on the disqualification petition. So this is supposedly a huge setback for the MVA there. Remember, the Shinde government will be facing a floor test on July 4th now, as the other rebel MLAs return to Mumbai tomorrow.
आरेचा निर्णय त्यांनी जो बदलला त्याने मला खरंच दुःख झालेलं आहे. हा काही कोणाचा खासगी प्लॉट नाहीये. तिकडे कोणाही बिल्डरला आपण तो आंदण देत नाही आहोत. तिथे जे काही पर्यावरणासाठी आवश्यक असलेले जंगल आणि वनराई होती जी एका रात्रीचा खेळ चालले आता त्यांचं ब्रीदवाक्य आहे. एका रात्रीत झाडांची कत्तल झाली. मी मुख्यमंत्री झाल्यानंतर पहिल्या प्रथम त्या निर्णयाला स्टे दिला होता.
प्रलंबित जो प्रोजेक्ट है, जो प्रकल्प है, जो पिछले कई सालों से उसको आगे ले जाना चाहते हैं हम लोग, जैसे जलयुक्त शिवार हो, कई मेट्रो के काम हो, जल संपदा विभाग के काम हो, जो किसानों के लिए एकदम भारी फायदेमंद हो सकते हैं, बड़े पैमाने पे जमीन इरिगेटेड हो सकती है. ये हमारा ये संकल्प है. इतना ही मैं आज कहूँगा. उपमुख्यमंत्री देवेंद्र फडणवीस साहेब आणि मी स्वतः यामध्ये जे जनतेच्या हिताचं आहे, जे प्रकल्प वेळेमध्ये पूर्ण झाले पाहिजे, जनतेच्या पैशाचं गैरवापर होता कामा नये, यासाठी जे शेवटी महाराष्ट्राच्या हिताचा निर्णय आमचं जे युतीचं सरकार आहे ते घेईल.
कारशेड के बारे में केस हुई हाईकोर्ट में, ग्रीन ट्राइब्यूनल में, सुप्रीम कोर्ट में, सब जगह सहमति मिलने के बाद, ये कोई जंगल तोड़ने की बात नहीं थी, सारी सहमति मिलने के बाद. और मैं सवाल ये भी पूछना चाहता हूँ कि क्या इसका जवाब दिया जा सकता है कि वहीं आसपास बिल्डरों को तो आपने परमिशन दे दी झाड़ तोड़ने की, और जो पब्लिक ट्रांसपोर्ट जिसके बारे में सुप्रीम कोर्ट के ऑर्डर में लिखा है कि वो जितने झाड़ तोड़े गए वो सारे झाड़ अपने लाइफ टाइम में जितना कार्बन सिक्वेस्ट्रेशन कर सकते हैं उतना ये मेट्रो 80 दिन में करेगी. ऐसे समय इसको केवल पॉलिटिकल न किया जाए, और मुझे लगता है कि ये मुंबई करों के साथ अन्याय होगा और इसलिए हम कारशेड वही करेंगे.
My colleagues are joining me live from Mumbai. Ketan joins me. Ketan, I'll come to you, and Shweta is also live with us on the broadcast. Ketan, it's no saving RA after all. After this big decision of overturning the MVA government's decision has been made by Eknath Shinde. So that big RA deadlock, now Shinde has decided to just go after that ever since he assumed office on day one itself. We don't seem to have that audio through of Ketan's. We'll try and fix that for our viewers. But Shweta, I'll take that same question to you now, because you have been covering this big story for Mirror now ever since the deadlock remained with the MVA government against the opposition. Now that Eknath Shinde has assumed office as the Chief Minister of the state of Maharashtra, the one big decision that he decided to actually begin his day was RA and getting that Metro 3 car shed project back to RA. This, of course, has seen a lot of furor in Mumbai. But despite all of that, despite the whole contention of the builder lobby, etc., he's decided to just go after it.
Well, absolutely, Griha. First and foremost, it was Eknath Shinde during the time of Agadi government when he was handling urban development portfolio. He was the one to stop the project which was going in RA. You know, he was the one to say that it will definitely destroy the lungs of Mumbai, that's RA colony, and one should not construct such mega key project there. And today, hours after swearing in ceremony, after cabinet meeting, he decided this, and this was pretty much unprecedented, and this came as a shock for the green activists as well as for the Mumbaikars, as they have been fighting, they have been staging several protests that the metro car shed, in fact, of 2, 3 and Metro Line 6 should not be in RA. But on the contrary to this, in the cabinet meeting, big decision for the Mumbaikars taken place that it will be RA colony for the metro car shed, and people were assuming that it should be in barren land situated in Kanjur Marg, and that was again with the central government, and again the controversy was erupting from that place as well. So MMRDA came in between with alternate location, but everything seems to be in vain, and ultimately people were fearing, and that has happened, that the RA would be the metro car shed place for Metro Line 2, 3 and 6. And this is very important to note that it was, every time supported by BJP. If you remember, Griha, in 2018, there were several protests like Hug a Tree, and green activists were on the roads. They were detained, and this went on for days together, where the trees were cut. And then they had a stay as well. And after that, it was decided by the Agadi government in 2019 that we will not choose to construct the metro car shed in RA. We will not harm the environment. Instead, we will go to barren land like Kanjur Marg. But that couldn't happen. And this is again adding a political tone to the metro car shed project, again adding a religious and political face to the metro car shed, in fact, Griha. And we are seeing that what would be the next step of green activists, as this has come as a shock for them as well.
Right. Shweta, thank you so much. Ketan is back with us on the broadcast. Ketan, I'll take a different question to you now that your audio is back on track. Now, there's a big setback for, Uddhav Thackeray and camp, as the Apex Court also has refused to hear the disqualification plea today when it comes to the suspension, in fact, of the 16 rebel MLAs. So that also has happened when it comes to, a drawback, a setback there for, Uddhav Thackeray and faction. Are we getting a word on what their next step is going to be from now on? All right, I apologize to our viewers. I think there is a serious trouble with Ketan's audio. We'd have to leave it at that and go on to the next big story that we are tracking on the broadcast. And this is to do with ED summons on Shiv Sena MP Sanjay Raut, who in fact reached the Enforcement Directorate office earlier today. And this is as early as 10 a.m., remember. Now, this has happened after a second summon was issued to Mr. Sanjay Raut in an alleged money laundering case linked to the redevelopment of a Mumbai chawl area. 8 hours on, the ED grilling is still underway. My colleague Abhishek, who's tracking all the developments on that, is live with us on the broadcast. Abhishek, like I was mentioning, more than 8 hours, the ED grilling, the questioning is still underway for Sanjay Raut. Anything that you're picking up from inside, what is happening inside there?
Yes, definitely, absolutely. As we speak, it's past 9 p.m. now, and it's more than 9 hours. He came down in the morning at around 11:30, and it is questioning is continuously going on inside an important money laundering case. That entire case is around more than 1,000 crore scam, and as far as the human angle to it is concerned.
We seem to have lost that link with Abhishek as well. There seems to be some trouble with the audio that we are having in order to connect with our reporters. I really apologize to our viewers who are watching. But let me tell you that, like Abhishek was mentioning, Sanjay Raut has been summoned. This is the second time that he's been summoned. This is the second summon of Sanjay Raut in alleged money laundering case. And this case is linked to the redevelopment of a Mumbai chawl. More than 8 hours, he's still at the Enforcement Directorate office. The questioning continues and he is under the ED radar. Ever since he was summoned the first time, the MVA had started to actually launch a scathing attack at the Central Probe Agency, saying that they are trying to work under the behest of the central government, trying to be its puppet, and that's why these cases and these questionings and summons are being slapped at people who are not part of the central government, and especially the government in the then government in Maharashtra was under the radar. And in that regard, after Deshmukh and also Nawab Malik, it was time for Mr. Sanjay Raut, who was also summoned by the Enforcement Directorate. We'd have to wait and watch once the Enforcement Directorate, in fact, decides to let him go for the day today, and then we would possibly get that link back with Abhishek and try and get a sense of what really has happened on day 2 of, in fact, this is the first day that he's been questioned. This is the second summon for Sanjay Raut. He's decided to appear before the AD only the first time today. Now and go on to the next big story that we're tracking on Nation Tonight. The NDA's presidential candidate, Droupadi Murmu, today reached Haryana to kickstart her campaign for presidential elections, where she met Haryana BJP, Jan Nayak Janata Party MLAs and MPs. And while Droupadi Murmu is in Haryana, support seems to be swelling for her. Earlier today, West Bengal Chief Minister Mamata Banerjee's change of heart was seen, where the leader said that she has a soft spot for a woman candidate. However, it is too late now to garner an unopposed opposition support for Droupadi Murmu. Mamata Didi, with a sudden giveaway, hinted that had BJP-led NDA alliance sought her support, she might as well have given the same. Not just Mamata Banerjee, now Shiromani Akali Dal leader Sukhbir Singh Badal and JDS leader HD Devagowda have also agreed that their parties will be supporting NDA's presidential candidate Droupadi Murmu. Now, from what we know so far, all allies of the NDA, the Biju Janata Dal, the YSRCP, BSP Chief Mayawati have all decided to support NDA's candidate. Let me tell you that Droupadi Murmu is pitted against opposition's Yashwant Sinha. But the bigger question is, has the BJP-led NDA alliance played the right cards once again? Will the united front fall apart?
তাহলে আমরাও চেষ্টা করতাম আমার এমনি মহিলাদের প্রতি একটা সেন্টিমেন্ট আছে এবং যেহেতু রাজনীতিতে অবশ্য পুরুষ মহিলা সবাই আছে ওরাও আমাকে কনসিডার করে না কখনো সেটা নয় একটা ডেটার ইন্টারেস্টের সাথে আমরা নিশ্চয়ই অপোজিশন যে 16-17টা পার্টি আছে আমরা বসে একটা সিদ্ধান্ত নিতে পারতাম যে একটা কনসিস্টেন্ট ক্যান্ডিডেট সে পক্ষে ভালো হতো। একসময় এপিডি করানো হয়েছে, কিন্তু বিজেপি যখন আমাদের সাথে ফোন করেছিল তখন তো আমাদের সাথে জানতে চেয়েছিল, কিন্তু ওদের সাজেশনটা আমাদের জানায়নি। তাই আমি মনে করি যে গেটার ইন্টারেস্টে গেটার কনসিস্টেন্স ক্যান্ডিডেট আমি সবসময় প্রেফার করি, কিন্তু যেহেতু আমরা 17টা পলিটিক্যাল পার্টি একসাথে বসে একটা সিদ্ধান্ত নিয়েছি, সেই সিদ্ধান্ত থেকে
हमने पार्टी ने श्रोमणी अकाली दल ने सारा विचार करके फैसला किया है कि जो प्रेसिडेंट के कैंडिडेट हैं मिसेस द्रौपदी मुर्मू जी, उनको सपोर्ट करेंगे। वो एक मिनॉरिटी और शेड्यूल ट्राइब को रिप्रेजेंट करती हैं, मिनॉरिटी और शेड्यूल ट्राइब को रिप्रेजेंट करती हैं, वीकर सेक्शन को रिप्रेजेंट करती हैं। इसी ये हमारा पार्टी का सूल है, हम ऐसे कम्युनिटीज़ को हम लगातार सपोर्ट करते रहे।
My colleague Adrija now joins me live on the broadcast. Adrija, it's very, very interesting that Mamata Banerjee said what she said about Ms. Droupadi Murmu. Now, putting it on record there, that had her name being sent to the TMC first, she possibly would have given and got a united opposition to go ahead and support NDA's presidential candidate. Now, this is big.
Well, yes, in fact, she has also said that while the opposition parties were meeting together and deciding as to who they want to nominate as the presidential candidate, she also said that BJP did call them up and ask about who are they deciding or thinking about nominating as the candidature. And she has also said even if at that point BJP would have mentioned for once that they were, thinking of nominating Droupadi Murmu, even at that point, even Mamata Banerjee and her party might have supported Droupadi Murmu at that point. But saying that, she has also said that right now, even though it might seem a little late, Droupadi Murmu's win, she said, is it's very likely to happen. And especially she also mentioned about the developments that has happened recently in Maharashtra. She has said that due to those, the possibility of BJP winning the presidential election scheduled later in the month today is huge. And also she has mentioned that if even at this point all the opposition parties come together and decide that they might just go together with Droupadi Murmu, then she doesn't have a problem. So she might also say yes if all the opposition parties come together and decide together that they would like to go ahead with Droupadi Murmu. Back to you.
All right, Adrija, thank you so much for joining me with all those details. In fact, like I said, it's very interesting because it was Mamata Banerjee who had proposed Yashwant Sinha's name to be the opposition's presidential candidate. And now she going on record as saying that she has a soft spot for a woman candidate. She possibly would have gone ahead and supported Droupadi Murmu had the NDA come to the TMC for their support. Now, this really could have been a turn around of events when it comes to unanimous support for Droupadi Murmu. Now, but things are still on conjecture. We're borderlining on conjecture right now because this is a statement that has been made by Mamata Banerjee. But of course, it does look like a quote-unquote advantage Droupadi Murmu. We'd have to still see once both Yashwant Sinha and Droupadi Murmu's fate are put to test on what really happens. But now that the Shiromani Akali Dal and also Mamata Banerjee going ahead and making these statements is out in the open, we'd have to really see what happens once the presidential polls are done. My colleague Gurpreet also joins me live on the same story. Gurpreet, the Shiromani Akali Dal really offering support to NDA's candidate, presidential candidate Ms. Droupadi Murmu. Does it look like, the stakes are tilted in her favor strongly now?
Well, yes, of course. We have seen Shiromani Akali Dal. They had called a core committee meeting today in which they had decided not to go along with Congress because Sukhbir Singh Badal, the president of Shiromani Akali Dal, has already made it very clear Congress had damaged a lot for Punjab there, and he has also remembered those days of 1984 and specifically attack on Golden Temple and Blue Star operation. He says that they are not going to go along with Congress at any cost because they had already damaged Punjabi and especially they had given a huge loss to Punjab. So following that, they also say there is a policy in Shiromani Akali Dal to support the people who have come from humble background. And this the presidential candidate from NDA, she has come from humble background, and that's why they have decided to support. And specifically and categorically, Sukhbir Singh Badal had stated, though they have a lot of differences with the NDA government, specifically after the farm bills, and there is a lot of difference during the assembly election. But despite having all these differences, they have decided to support the presidential candidate from NDA. So this is the recent development, and today we have seen that presidential candidate, she has already come. She has met Himachal Pradesh leaders, even in Haryana. There was a meeting which was held in Haryana Nivas, where all the leaders from various, all the leaders from JJP and BJP, they were present there, and even the independent, they were supporting. So it's another shot in arm of this presidential candidate, when Shiromani Akali Dal has also decided to support this presidential candidate from the NDA.
All right, Gurpreet, thank you so much for joining me with all those details there. Important development when it comes to NDA's choice of presidential candidate, Ms. Droupadi Murmu. We don't have to only wait and watch what really happens once the polls actually take place on whether it is going to be Yashwant Sinha or, in fact, Droupadi Murmu as the next president of India. Let's shift focus now. In a petition contesting a trial court judgment where Alt News co-founder Mohammed Zubair was sent on 4-day police remand, the Delhi High Court today has issued a notice to Delhi police and also ordered them to file their counter-affidavit within 2 weeks and, if necessary, a response in the following week. The Delhi High Court will now hear the case on the 27th of July. We've learnt that during the hearing, Justice Sanjeev Narula observed that the remand order was for a period of just 4 days, ending tomorrow, and that he will be produced before the concerned court on the 2nd of July. Now, during the hearing, the judge orally remarked that the matter was has in fact a very limited shelf life, since the remand of Mohammed Zubair will be ending tomorrow itself. Let me tell you that Mohammed Zubair was detained on the 25th of June on a charge of injuring religious feelings for his old tweet of the year 2018. My colleague Bhavtosh now joins me on the broadcast. Bhavtosh, 27th of July, when the court will be hearing this case next. This doesn't look like a reprieve at all for Mohammed Zubair. However, the oral observation that I was just telling our viewers about that had come from the court really says it all, that the remand is going to be ending tomorrow. So this particular thing has a very, very limited shelf life.
Mohammed Zubair will be produced before the relevant court in Delhi, and his hearing will be heard before a Patiala House Court magistrate. Now, Delhi police yesterday took him to Bangalore, where his electronic gadgets were reportedly seized by them. The entire remand was taken on the grounds that his electronic gadgets need to be seized by the police so that they can investigate this case further. The legal team of Mohammed Zubair has completely debunked the police's case, claiming that this arrest itself is illegal and the remand has been taken only to prolong his custody and also to continue harassing Mohammed Zubair. On the part of the police have said that this tweet that he did was in 2018, and the claim of Mohammed Zubair that his phone has been lost is something that they are not believing. They have also said that they want to go through his laptop because they want to check whether such tweets have been also done in past. Now, Brinda Grover, while arguing on behalf of Mohammed Zubair, has time and again pointed out that if you just look into the case details, the whole idea is to harass Mohammed Zubair and also other individuals who are representing Alt News. Now, the High Court had said that they want to hear Delhi police version also, and that's That's the reason why notices have been served to Delhi police. Tushar Mehta, representing the Delhi police, have said that the initial investigation has been done on the basis of an FIR and not much should be read between the lines, and he would anyway be produced before a magistrate tomorrow. So all eyes on the magistrate court, and the legal team of Mohammed Zubair has been asked to hand over, has been told by the police to hand over all the remand papers, and one has to wait and see what will happen. But sources within Delhi police have told Mirror now that it could be possible that police will be seeking further custody. More trouble for Alt News because Delhi police will be giving case details to Enforcement Directorate, and it looks possible that a money laundering case will be filed.
Okay, so trouble seems to be growing only there for Mohammed Zubair, because if at all this goes to the Enforcement Directorate, like my colleague Bhavtosh is talking about, this is going to be big trouble for him. And we also possibly could be looking at a money laundering case against Mohammed Zubair. Let's shift focus now. BJP is all set for the two-day national executive meeting that will take place in Hyderabad tomorrow. All the big leaders of the party, including Prime Minister Narendra Modi, Union Home Minister Amit Shah and the Chief Ministers of States will be present in this meeting. This will be the first physical meeting of the BJP's key decision-making body outside the national capital after a gap of 5 years, and the third in a southern state after coming to power in 2014. The meeting will mainly focus on party strategies to further strengthen the BJP, especially in the southern states. Ahead of that very crucial meet, Times Network, in fact, had a conversation with the party president, JP Nadda. Let's take a look at this exclusive chat.
लोगों में जबरदस्त उत्साह है, नहीं सिर्फ हैदराबाद में बल्कि पूरे तेलंगाना में। लोग आतुर हैं भारतीय जनता पार्टी को आशीर्वाद देने के। जितने भी बाई इलेक्शंस हुए हैं, सब में भारतीय जनता पार्टी को एक तरफा जीत हासिल हुई। लोग केसीआर से, चंद्रशेखर राव से नाराज हैं। उनका भ्रष्ट शासन, उनका जिस तरीके से प्रशासन में राजनीतिकरण हुआ है और अपराधीकरण भी हुआ है और भ्रष्टाचार चरम सीमा पर है, इससे लोग नाखुश हैं, नाराज हैं और वो केसीआर को अलविदा कहना चाहते हैं और भारतीय जनता पार्टी को आशीर्वाद देंगे।
नड्डा जी, आप लोग यहाँ पर कार्यकारिणी कर रहे हैं, लेकिन प्रधानमंत्री जी के पोस्टर फाड़े गए, आपके पोस्टर फाड़े गए, तो ये क्या मैसेज है, क्या छटपटाहट है केसीआर की?
देखिए, ये केसीआर और तेलंगाना राज्य समिति टीआरएस इनके कल्चर को दर्शाता है, इनकी संस्कृति को दर्शाता है। और दूसरा, ये बौखला गए, आपा खो बैठे हैं, प्रजातांत्रिक तरीके से इनको लड़ने आता नहीं है। जिन लोगों ने अलग तेलंगाना राज्य के लिए इनको आशीर्वाद दिया था, आज वो पछता रहे हैं। आज वो महसूस करते हैं कि उनके साथ बेइंसाफी हुई है और उनके हकों की रक्षा नहीं हुई है। और वो भारतीय जनता पार्टी मोदी जी से जो उन्होंने आशीर्वाद तेलंगाना को दिया है, वो जमीन पर लगे, ये आशा रखते हैं। और जमीन पर लगने के लिए यहाँ सरकार केसीआर को अलविदा कहा जाए और भारतीय जनता पार्टी को आशीर्वाद दे, ये यहाँ की जनता चाहती है।
आखिरी सवाल सर, कार्यकारिणी 2 दिन की होने वाली है, आपका प्लान जो साउथ है उसमें तेलंगाना जो है प्रोमिनेंट स्टेट है, कार्यकारिणी में क्या कुछ एजेंडे रहेंगे?
कार्यकारिणी में राजनीतिक प्रस्ताव भी आएंगे, आर्थिक प्रस्ताव भी आएंगे, देश के में पार्टी किस तरीके से आगे बढ़ी है इस पर भी चर्चा होगी, कि आगे किस तरीके से बढ़ना इसकी भी चर्चा होगी। लेकिन तेलंगाना में हो रही है, तो इसलिए तेलंगाना क्या विषय भी हमारा बहुत महत्वपूर्ण होगा और यहाँ की जनता में जो उत्साह है उसको निश्चित रूप से आशा में परिवर्तित हम करेंगे।
The Supreme Court today came down heavily on suspended BJP leader Nupur Sharma for her controversial statements. The top court reprimanded the former BJP spokesperson for what it termed as her loose tongue that has set the entire country on fire, and that she is single-handedly responsible for what is happening in the country. That was said by the Supreme Court, refusing to entertain Sharma's plea for clubbing of FIRs that have been lodged against her in various states. For the remark that she's made, the bench held that the comment was made either for cheap publicity, political agenda, or for some nefarious activities. none of the scathing oral observations made by the Supreme Court have made it to the actual order that was passed by the court. The bench has simply dismissed the petition as withdrawn in a two-line order. Following these developments, a letter petition has been filed before the Chief Justice of India, N.V. Ramana, seeking withdrawal of adverse remarks that have been made by a Supreme Court bench against the suspended BJP leader. My colleague Meenakshi now joins me on the broadcast for more on this. Meenakshi, oral observations that have been made by the apex court was something that has dominated headlines today. However, none of it really made it to the actual order is what is interesting.
Yes, Griha, oftentimes judges express their point of view and insight and disgruntlement with the petition itself through oral observations. And remember, very clearly, oral observations are reportable. That's the key point here. And therefore, they have dominated headlines because the Supreme Court clearly are making its displeasure known about the nature of the remarks and about the need for somebody like her to be engaging in an activity of making these remarks and not granting relief that she has sought. That in itself is also another indication of the seriousness with which the bench has viewed this particular petition. Because you see, oral observations, it has not made in the orders, but remember, they are highly reportable. Remember, whenever proceedings of any high magnitude are conducted in the Supreme Court, we in the media and also in any other spectrum of society very closely follow the oral observations because they provide some kind of an insight into how the bench is processing all the arguments and the petition that has been filed before it. So today the Supreme Court made these observations when Nupur Sharma filed this transfer petition application in the Supreme Court where she was urging for the transfer of all the cases against her in different states to Delhi as she claimed that her life was in danger. So this was a grave ground that she took, but the Supreme Court bench really was in no mood to listen. They went ahead and said, and I quote, her apology came too late and that too conditionally, saying if religious sentiments have been hurt and so on. She should have been on television immediately and apologized to the nation, unquote. So this was one of the scathing observations the Supreme Court bench led by Honorable Justice Ravikant made while dismissing the plea. And that in itself is a clear indication why the bench went ahead and declined her any relief. Griha.
All right, Meenakshi, thank you so much for actually taking us through all that transpired in the top court today. Of course, very, very difficult lines therefore, Nupur Sharma as the apex court really teared into the former BJP leader, really accusing her for going ahead and leading up to the tensions that the country is really witnessing because of certain remarks that she made in the past. Let's shift focus now and take a look at a story that was the obvious impact of this very statement. Now, two more accused in the Udaipur killing case have been nabbed. Both of the accused have been sent to one-day transit remand to the National Investigative Agency. They will, in fact, be produced before the Jaipur court tomorrow by about 5 p.m. That's the latest that's coming in the case of the Udaipur killing case. And with that, I'm slipping into a very, very short break, but not before I get you to take a look at these visuals. The Defence Research and Development Organization has successfully carried out its first flight test of an unmanned aerial vehicle. This is an autonomous flying wing technology demonstrator. The test has been conducted from the Aeronautical Test Range in Karnataka. This UAV has been developed by the Aeronautical Department establishment. Take a look at these visuals as we slip into a very short break here, right on Nation Tonight. This to Rahul Gandhi on his first visit to Wayanad since his office was attacked. Rahul Gandhi has now gone on record and said that the incident was unfortunate, but he does not have any hostility or anger over it. Rahul, in fact, reached Wayanad today for a 3-day tour in the constituency, visited the vandalized office in Kalapetta. That's the headquarters of Wayanad district. And he said, and I quote him here, "It is quite unfortunate that the office was in fact attacked. Violence never resolves any kind of problems, and it is not good that the people who are responsible for this vandalism acted in this kind of an irresponsible manner." Let's take a look at what Rahul Gandhi really went ahead and said. And this was all after he visited Wayanad, after his office was vandalized allegedly by SFI activists on the 24th of June. And he also alleged this was because of his inaction. That's what the SFI activists had said in the issue of buffer zones around forests. In fact, Rahul Gandhi also slammed the BJP-led central government's policies for farmers and that BJP and RSS have spoiled the atmosphere of the country.
So this is what we are seeing in the country, what is being done in the country today by the RSS and the BJP, and the violence you see here. This is completely against our philosophy, you know. We don't believe in solving problems with hatred and with anger, and that's why also I'm saying that, you know, the youngsters here have got excited. Fine, they have a slightly different ideology than us. We don't appreciate the fact that they've broken my office, but we'll fix our office. It's not going to stop working just because they've come here and they've broken it.
And my colleague Vivek now joins me on the phone line for more on this. Vivek, clearly Rahul Gandhi seems to be taking the high ground over here. However, the things that he has, said, using this opportunity to react on the vandalism of his office, obviously is holding a lot of significance. So just take us through that, and also the fact that this is a 3-day tour for Rahul Gandhi. So what all is the itinerary looking like?
Yes, this is a 3-day tour as far as Rahul Gandhi is concerned, and this tour is very, very significant, especially at a time when his office was attacked on the 24th of June by SFI, activists, and that too on an issue of the ecologically sensitive zone of the Supreme Court, which has nothing to do with the current politics of Kerala. But Rahul Gandhi, after visiting his office, has said that he feels that the act of the SFI students are extremely irresponsible. But in the meantime, he also said that he is willing to pardon them at this point of time. He said that what happened was extremely unfortunate. He has met those security officials who have been attacked and who was injured and currently at the hospital. But remember, yesterday late night, there was also an attack on the headquarters of the CPM in Thiruvananthapuram. So basically, the allegation is that the Congress leaders are alleging is that it is the CPM leaders who are trying to who has actually arranged this attack on the headquarters and trying to put the blame on the Congress. They basically want the entire issue of Rahul Gandhi coming and visiting Wayanad. Basically, the media, they don't want the media attention on that on the 3-day visit. They basically want to divert whatever that was happening. But Rahul Gandhi was very careful while he was using his words. Even though he condemned the attack, he said that what's happening in North India, especially in Rajasthan, in UP, in other states, especially after the Nupur Sharma remark, the attacks that's been happening is extremely unfortunate. He blamed the RSS and the Sangh Parivar for that. The meantime, he also, he tried to downplay the attack on his own office. Now, remember, this is seen as a political, kind of posturing, especially, remember, in the state, CPM and Congress are basically political rivals for decades, and even in the state elections, that's how they fight. But when it comes to the Lok Sabha elections, remember, they are all coming under the UPA. Even though the left is not as part of the UPA, it is giving an outside support. So basically, he has to, be very careful while using his, words, while condemning or while, comparing the RSS and the CPM, and hence he has done that. Today, he has also taken part in a rally, where many of the Congress leaders and activists was part of, where the Congress leaders actually raised the issue of the ecologically sensitive zone, where the Supreme Court has mandated that 1 kilometer distance has to be maintained, and within that distance, all the shops and establishments, should be removed, and people should vacate.
Right.
right? And this is something that's affecting the people. So basically, the visit was basically on that. But this today, since the attack has happened, and also on the pretext of whatever happening across the country, Rahul Gandhi has also tried to compare the kind of violence which is happening in other part of the country to the attack at his own office in Kolkata in Wayanad.
Right. Right, Vivek. Thank you so much for joining us with all those details. And let's now go on to the next story on Nation Tonight. Today marks 5 years of GST implementation. The single taxation system came into force on the 1st of July in the year 2017. Half a decade later, Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman has said that the GST system survived teething problems and is now 5 years stronger. On the other hand, the Congress has once again cornered the government over the centre's version of the GST system, saying that its defects have only worsened over the last 5 years. Former Finance Minister Mr. P. Chidambaram criticized the GST in its current form and said that it was not able to be well equipped, and the design that UPA government had envisioned, it is far from it.
After 5 years of GST, there is no rationalization in the number of returns to be filed. Compliance with e-way bill and e-invoicing is no simpler. Various provisions of the GST laws have still not been implemented, and instead the government has resorted to stopgap or temporary arrangements, some of which have lasted 5 years. Claiming refunds is a nightmare, and thousands of cases are being litigated in the courts. Adding to these woes is a recurrence of technical glitches that have not been sorted out even after 5 years.
All right, we are getting you this breaking news that Sanjay Raut, whose ED grilling was going on for hours on end today, has finally come out of the Enforcement Directorate's office. The grilling is over for the day. We'll continue to track in some bit of those developments that my reporters are really picking in from the Enforcement Directorate office. But what is the latest is we'd also try to play out that bite that was coming live for us. The latest is that he is finally out of the Enforcement Directorate office. The questioning is over for Mr. Sanjay Raut. Let's also go to my colleague Abhishek, who is outside the ED office, to actually get a sense of what has he said to the media after he's come out of the hours-long questioning by the Enforcement Directorate. We will just trying to ascertain here whether I have Abhishek with me right now or not. All right, I'm told that we are yet to get Abhishek on the online, but we're trying to actually connect with Abhishek to actually get a sense of what has Mr. Raut really said, and we'll also try to play that bite for you as he has really gone ahead and addressed the media very, very briefly as he came out of more than 8 hours of questioning by the Enforcement Directorate in an alleged money laundering case, which was to do with the redevelopment of Mumbai Chawl area. We'd have to wait and watch on what Abhishek has for us so that we get a sense of what was the line of questioning by the Enforcement Directorate for Sanjay Raut. Remember, he went into the Enforcement Directorate questioning today at about 10 in the morning, and it's about 9:50 p.m., almost 10 p.m., and he's only gotten out right now. He came out, briefly addressed the media, and left straight away. Trying to get in my colleague Abhishek here to get a sense of what really the questioning was all about. But we do know that this is allegedly to do with a money laundering case that is associated with Mr. Sanjay Raut. And of course, all right, I'm told that Abhishek is live with me. Abhishek, we missed what Mr. Sanjay Raut really said briefly to the media. Can you take our viewers through it, please?
Yes, definitely. After more than 9 hours of questioning, he was out from the Enforcement Directorate office. And when we asked him about the questioning and what was all asked and what was discussed, he clearly said that every question, every queries that was asked by Enforcement Directorate to me, I have answered them. And if they require and if they want me to come again, I will also come again to answer whatever they want to ask me. And as a responsible citizen and as a member of parliament, I respect the central agencies and I have answered all that question. And I was summoned today and all the questions related to the case have been answered. So definitely he didn't went into the details of the questioning, but he clearly said that
केंद्रीय तपास यंत्रणा आहे त्यांना काही विषयांचा तपास करण्याची आवश्यकता भासली असेल आम्ही सार्वजनिक जीवनात काम करतो आमच्यावर काही डाग जर लावत असेल तर दूर करणं त्या तपास यंत्रणेसमोर जाऊन हे आमचं कर्तव्य आहे माझ्याबरोबर माझे वकील होते ॲडव्होकेट विक्रम साबळे
All right, Abhishek, we were just playing out that reaction of Sanjay Raut for our viewers. In fact, he has said that he has cooperated with the probe agency from his side. And he also goes on to say that ED is a recognized agency. He says that I've cooperated with them and also told them that he will be cooperating in future. Once again, do we know if he is going to be summoned again by the Enforcement Directorate, Abhishek?
Yeah, definitely. As of now, there is no information regarding once again if he will be summoned or not. But for sure, he from his own end has clarified that if at all I am asked to come again, I will come here. I will try to answer all the queries and all the questions that has been asked to me, or whether I would have been asked to furnish any kind of document. I am ready to do it. That's been over 9 hours of questioning has happened today since around 11:30 a.m. in the morning, and right now as we speak, he just came out. It's past 10 before 9:30, around 9:45. So you can imagine more than 9 hours of questioning, and definitely Raut has always been criticizing central agencies for they're being politically motivated. But today, altogether, we have a different approach of Sanjay Raut. In the morning also, he said that whether this is all political motivated or not, we will have to wait and watch. But at the same time, now also he said that I believe in these agencies, and as a responsible member of parliament, I will come here whenever being called and I will answer all the questions that possible. That's what he told right now. But what are the details of the questioning that we will have to wait and watch out for? But for sure, if ED summons him again, he will come and answer all the questions. Back to you.
All right, Abhishek, we'll leave it at that. We'll wait. We'll let you go to actually certain more details of what really was the line of questioning by the Enforcement Directorate. He, in fact, came out and briefly addressed the media and said that he will continue to cooperate with the Enforcement Directorate. And remember, these were almost 10 hours of questioning for Sanjay Raut, and this ED grilling continued through the day today. We'll leave it at that, but shifting focus to Russian President Vladimir Putin, who in fact had a telephone conversation with Prime Minister Narendra Modi today. The leaders discussed in details topical issues of Russian-Indian relations, paying special attention to the future development of mutually beneficial ties in the economic sphere. The leaders discussed bilateral trade and global food market. During the discussion, Prime Minister Modi reaffirmed India's long-standing stance in favor of dialogue and diplomacy with respect to the circumstances in Ukraine. The two leaders also reviewed the implementation of the decisions taken during President Putin's visit to India in December 2021. Shifting focus to what is happening in the big India versus England match now. We will bring you the latest. This is the 5th test that is being played at Edgbaston. India has crossed the score of 200 runs. James Anderson's classic bowling has helped scalp 3 early wickets. Pujara and Kohli have failed to score big. However, Bumrah will be keen on showing his captaincy acumen as he leads India against a vastly improved opposition. Also, this was the last story on the broadcast today. The first look of Kate Winslet as a Navi warrior from James Cameron's upcoming film, Avatar: The Way of Water, is out. Remember, Kate Winslet reunites with her Titanic director James Cameron for the highly anticipated global blockbuster Avatar: The Way of Water. The Oscar-winning actor is the new and one of the most talked about additions in the film. The first look photos of Winslet as Navy warrior Ronal from the film describes Winslet's character as a deeply loyal and fearless leader. We are leaving you with these images of Kate Winslet as Navy warrior in James Cameron's latest Avatar: The Way of Water. As I say, good night and goodbye.